All right, welcome to the Yankee Down Under. This is my very first episode doing Marvel Champions, and what other better way to start off than a little bit of deck building tutorial. This is how I do it. I know everyone has their own way of doing building their own decks, but this is how I do it, and I figured the best example of deck building will be using Thor. So let's get to it. So how I do is I look at the traits and I try to figure out what cards work well with his hero card. So we'll take a look at Thor. Sorry for the glare there. So Thor's an Avenger. So Odin's he has an Asgard trait with 4 recovery. And then we look at Thor. We look at his stat line. He has 1 work, which is terrible, 2 attack and 2 defense. He has Asgard trait and the Avenger trait, and he also has this response called Have at Thee. So after you engage a minion, you draw 2 cards, and you limit once per phase. So Thors love minions. So once during the hero phase, if you get a minion, you can draw 2 cards, and once during the villain phase, you can also draw 2 cards. That's pretty good. So what I usually do, so the first thing we do, we'll look at his cards. The hero deck has 15 cards in it, so he has a God of Thunder, which a 2 cost, so he exhausts God of Thunder to generate an energy resource. He has, I believe, a couple of those. Yep, he's got 2 of those. He's got his helmet, which is the armor trait and the Asgard trait. You get plus 5 hit points for that. You got the Asgard card, which is the Asgard trait and location. You get plus 1 hand size for that, which he's going to need because his hand size in hero form is terrible. It's only 4. And then you also have 2 copies of Lightning Strike. So you spend an X number of energy resources. Now these can be wild or printed, unlike Iron Man's Repulsor Blast, where they have to be printed. So spend X amount of energy resource to deal X amount of damage to the villain each minion engaged with you. And this attack ignores tough status cards if you have the aerial trait, which will come in handy. So there's 2 of those. So we know that Thor is going to run off a lot of energy cards. So we got to keep that in mind. Then you got 3 copies of Defenders of the 9 Realms. It's a thwart trait. You discard cards from the top of your counter deck until you discard a minion, and then you put that minion into play engaged with you, and you get to remove 3 threat from the scheme. This could be good, and this could be also really bad. You have to keep in mind what minions are already in the discard pile, because if you play this and you don't get any minions, you're gonna burn through the villain's counter deck. So not only will this card won't trigger, but you're also going to get an acceleration token on top of that, so that's bad news. Then you also get 3 copies of Hammer Throw. It's a 3 cost card. It's an action, it's an attack, and a superpower. So it's a hero action attack. So if you're stunned, this isn't going to work. You exhaust Muriel. You deal 8 damage to an enemy and return Muriel to your hand, and then it gains overkill. So you can use this on a 3 cost. Let's say you do this on a 3 cost minion, you're going to deal 3 to the minion, take them out, and the remaining 5 damage is going to the villain. You get Lady Sif. She's a 4 cross card. She's an ally. 2 thwart, 2 attack. Every time you spend more basic power, she's going to take a coincidental damage. She has the Asgard trait. And then once Lady Sif enters play, you raise Thor Odinson. So that's pretty good. You get a copy of 4 Asgards at 1 cost. It's a hero alter ego action only. So you search your deck in this card pile for a card with the Asgard trait and add to your hand and shuffle your deck. That could come in handy. And then, last but not least, you have Mjolnir, Thor's Hammer. It's a 1 cost upgrade. Has an Asgard trait. Has the weapon trait. It's restricted, so you're going to use 2 restricted cards per player. And Thor gets plus 1 attack and gains the aerial trait. So if you have this in play and you are using Lightning Strike, because you have the aerial trait, you get ignored tough status cards. So we know that Thor is going to run off a lot of energy resources. He likes minions, and a lot of his cards has the Asgard trait. So you need to keep that in mind. So after that, what I do, I try to include all basic decks are all the basic cards that I believe, you don't have to, that are mandatory. You have to include in your deck. So for me, these include Genies, which is the double mental resource, Energy, the double energy resource, Strength, the double physical resource, and I also run 2 copies of the Power in All of Us. So it's a wild. You can run 2 per deck, and you double the number of resources this card generates for playing for a basic card. And you'll see why I'm putting these in. Next thing you want to do, he's going to run off energy resources. So I'm going to put at least 1 copy of Enhanced Reflexes. So you get 3 energy counters. It has an energy resource, and then you exhaust it. You get to burn you burn an energy resource. And I also put in 1 copy of Downtime. It's a 1-cost upgrade. So your recovery is +2. It's good survivability. I also run 1 copy of Endurance. You can play under player's control. It's max 1 player. You get +3 hit points. So as soon as you play that card, you automatically run that +3. You automatically add it to the hero's dial. I also run a Helicarrier. It's a max 1 per player. So you exhaust it, choose a player, and then reduce the number of resource costs by 1 for the next card that player plays. So for instance, if you had this out in play, you exhaust it, you can put Mural in for free. But you're going to do that for the first card. There's also a Quick Carrier, 3-cost support. You can only have the Avenger trait. Thor has the Avenger trait, but you can only put this down where you're in hero mode. You can't put this down when you're in Odinson because he only has the Asgard trait. And it gives you a wild resource, which is also good. And I also run 2 copies of Team Building Exercise. So it's a 2-cost support. It has the physical resource. You exhaust it, and you can play a card from your hand that shares a trait with your hero, reducing its resource cost by 1. This is when it comes in handy. When you're in hero mode or you're in Odinson, because you have the Asgard trait, and all of his cards minus his attacking and his sorting abilities have the Asgard trait. So if you got one of these out, you're going to exhaust it. You're going to reduce your cost by 1. You're going to have 2 of these out. You're going to exhaust both of them. You're going to reduce your cost by 2. You get this out with the Queen Carrier. You're going to trigger both of those, exhausted by 2. Trigger the Hey Queen Carrier. You're going to pay -3. So you can put Asgard in for free, or some lines like that, however you want to run. That's just me. Next thing I do, I'm going to look at least we'll go to aggression, and then we'll see what's all included in aggression. I'm going to run at least 1 copy of Power of Aggression because you're allowed to. It's a wild resource, and you get to play. You get to double the number of your resources the card generates are playing for an aggression card only. So, I know that. I want to run that. Now I want to look at, next thing I do, I want to look at allies. So I'll definitely put in Heimdall because he has the Asgard trait. He's got 2 thwart. He's got 3 attack. But when you thwart, he does 1 coincidental damage. When he attacks, he does 2. So when he enters play, you look at the top 3 cards of your counter deck, you discard 1 of them, and put the others back in any order. So let's say he enters play, and then you can look at the top deck, and you got that old Shadows of the Past or Advance. You can just get rid of them, and it'll probably help you out. Then I'll use Jane Foster Thor. Now, I know that they're unique. Thor's unique because he's got that little star symbol up there. But he's just Thor Odinson. This Thor's Jane Foster. So you can run her. She's got 1 thwart. She's got 2 attack. After you play Thor from your hand, you deal 2 damage to the villain and 3 damage instead if you pay this card using the physical resource. which is pretty good. I like that. I also run Valkyrie because she has the Asgard trait and she's an Avenger. Same thing with Jane Foster Thor. She's an Asgard trait and also the Avenger. So she's got 1 thwart, 2 attack, 1 coincidental damage for each. Then when she enters play, she deals 2 damage to the minion, but 3 damage if you use the energy resource. Then I look at my events I'm going to run. So I know Thor likes minions, so I'm going to run at least 2 copies of Relentless Assault. It's an attack action, so if you're stunned, it's not going to work. You deal 5 damage to the minion, and if you pay for this card using a physical resource, this attack gains overkill. So just like Hammer Throw, wherever excess damage spills over to the villain. I'm also going to run 2 copies of Mean Swing. It's a skill. So when your hero makes a basic attack, you exhaust the weapon upgrade from your hero, and your hero gets +3 attack for this action. Now, there's a reason. So when you got Murder in play, if you play that card, you got to exhaust Murder. But that means if you exhaust your Murder, you can't use Hammer Throw or anything like that. But there's a backup plan for that. That's where we're going to put in Yonborn. Yonborn is an Asgard trait. It's a weapon. It's a restricted, so max 2 per player. So I've got 1 in Murder, and then this will be the second. After your hero attacks an enemy, you spend a physical resource, and you deal 2 damage to your enemy. That's pretty good. So now with all these minion things, with all the minion kills and all this stuff, we're going to run Hall of Heroes. It's 2 call support. It has the Asgard trait. It's a location, so after you defeat a minion, place a glory counter on there. And then once you flip over to Alter Ego action, you can exhaust the Hall of Heroes. They remove 3 glory counters from it, and you can draw 3 cards. I'm also going to run Lion in Wait. It's a preparation card, only 1 per player. But whenever a minion engages you, that means when he shows up, you discard Lion in Wait and you deal 3 damage to that minion. I'm also going to run Martial Prowess. 2 cost upgrade, only 1 per player. You exhaust it, you generate a physical resource for an attack event. So you see how this is working. So if this is out, I can play Power of Aggression to play Relentless Assault to trigger this. But not even to trigger that, I could just, because this costs 2 and it's a wild, they'll fill, and then you get the idea. It'll trigger it. You'll get overkill. And then I also play Battlefury. It's a condition, 1 upgrade. It's an energy resource. So after your hero attacks and defeats a minion, you deal damage to your hero. You discard Battlefury, and then you get rid of your hero. But as you can see, a lot of these cards that I run in this deck have energy resources, which comes in handy for Lightning Strike. So that's pretty much how I go about building my decks. I always go off the traits and try to see what cards can work with the hero cards. At the beginning of the game, when the game first came out, I used to run a 40 card deck, because that's what all the pre-constructed decks were 40. But as the card pool expanded, I started running 50, which was all right. But I wanted to get back to running a 40 card deck, and so this is how I went about doing it. Because at first I just started putting cards in to see what will work. But I think, for me anyway, that this was a more efficient way to go about deck building. So that's it for that. Next video I'll put out, we'll actually test this deck out against Rhino Standard. I really don't play Expert, but playing against Rhino is a good way to test your decks out. So that's it for me. If you like what you saw, you can subscribe. I'm going to put a lot more content out, mostly just game playthroughs. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, take care, and I will see you guys later.